Podbean over. We live everywhere about Podbean. Some of you Podbean is acting up.
Just refresh. Hello, everybody. Welcome on this Wednesday.
It's cold, snowy Wednesday.
Cold, snowy, glorious, magnificent Wednesday.
Magnificent. Ooh.
Yes, it's been a great week. What do you mean?
I don't know about
Sunday was a wonderful day. And I am still...
No, unless if you were a Kansas City fan.
Still wearing that glove.
If you were a Kansas City fan. I know so. It wasn't a wonderful day.
Listen. Sorry to say. I could care less. There's a parade coming to town here.
Definitely a historic day.
Man.
African American quarterbacks.
Yes.
Too, so.
And as they were saying, belt to butt, the edited version here.
Oh yeah, you saw that. They got pretty creative, man. They got pretty creative.
Nah, it was a tremendous game. I feel like that's on the list of things to talk about today. So maybe we can. I'll hold off on that in my excitement.
But I don't know. We can. This could be. We got enough stuff. This could be a whole sports show, man.
Yeah, really could be. But there's so many other things that are happening in the world, that I think we can at least spend some time on and address here at the top of the show. But, before we get into that, did want to make sure that we kind of do our plug here for the show. So we do again want to thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight. We got our family on Facebook here. We got IG here live. And we are on YouTube streaming live. There's a couple people who jump on and stream there with us. Podbean family will be with us shortly. But we want y'all to keep engaging with us and keep commenting and sharing and liking the show. I feel like outside of the show, we definitely get a lot of feedback. But during the show, we want to start kind of making this more of a live interaction, man, and getting our audience involved. So when you are listening, if you are listening, please feel free to join us. Share your thoughts, opinions, and we'll be sure to get some of that on the show. But
we gotta get this phone. I gotta get the phone line set up.
Yeah, we definitely need to get that next on the docket. I feel like we've been expanding everywhere that this show has been posted, but next we need to get a phone line. But thank you all. Welcome to Above Average Black Man. Dad.
Yours truly, Christopher Pender Sr.
Chris Jr. here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Devin Pender here to remind y'all to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
Yes.
I feel like it's been a while since all three of us have been here.
It's like
because y'all just so busy.
Scattered here and there.
Y'all just the busiest people I ever saw.
You gotta stay busy, man. I'm always trying to do something to elevate.
Being social.
Listen, I started doing comedy, stand up. So a couple nights, take some time to.
I'm glad you said that. I'm ready to start writing some jokes, man.
Get up there, get on stage. I know, like right after, he was ready to critique. It felt like a basketball game. Like
I want to critique it. I just, just knowing you and knowing your niche, man. I think
maybe you could hold the mic here, son.
You can I think you can say some funny stuff talking about old school.
Did you add a curse to it?
I just put old school. I think that because I know about they talked about that, how old school versus new school. I think that's a good slick for you. Because you're always so critical about old school, so I know you can turn it into a joke.
That time will come, but like I'm glad that you guys came and supported me, and I feel like it was a good time, good turnout that night. But I'll continue to do more.
I was like, man, I could do that.
I'll work that into my bit, and look at it already. I can do that too. Let me show you how to do this.
Get up there.
Listen, it's an open mic. So
this is what the Cowboy fans sit in the front row.
You could get 3 minutes. You would have wasted your 3 minutes talking about this right now. It'd have been an argument. It would have been no jokes.
Why the Cowboys got 1 star because they suck. And that's my time.
Thank you.
Anyway, so let's get into the show, man. So the show's divided in 3 parts. I want to talk about the replacement theory. How's that impacting DEI? I want to talk about one of your favorite topics. I've been involved in these conversations so much. How does culture impact dating?
Mm-hmm.
And then we will talk about Super Bowl.
Yeah, can't wait to get to that. But nonetheless, I think 3 very solid, good topics. First, kind of starting with the replacement theory. For those who may not know what that is, the great replacement theory, also known as replacement theory, is pretty much where white nationalists think that people of color are replacing them or taking over in their roles in everyday life in society. So pretty much it's this fear that they have that I guess they won't be the majority. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, they won't be the majority culture anymore, which is that it's already.
I was to say, like, how much is the other cultures?
But the fear is that they're going to lose their power.
And yeah, so with that, I do think that is certainly something that is used as a tool to maybe push certain initiatives. But I think it's this book I read called the Sum of All of Us. I believe I'm saying that right, where it just talks about how sometimes these narratives are pushed to kind of enrage a certain group of people who then get blindsided voting for things that go against their own favor. So like for instance, with education right now, like they voted for Donald Trump, not realizing he about to get rid of the Department of Education, and then like some of the funding that these teachers were getting in these rural white communities. Now they like, oh, how do you know like this is going to impact us in this type of way? But they was rallied up because they heard of things that may have potentially benefited people of color, and then they was like, oh well, they don't deserve that, and then you're taking it away from yourself.
This country was built on manipulation. If you go back to slavery, you convinced a bunch of people who hadn't seen a group of people that they were your enemy, they were inferior, and you start there. Then you fast forward to to if you look at even what they did with the Indians. You came to their country, but you discovered America. They
manifest destiny.
They greeted you with open arms, but they were the savages.
Give it a nice name too.
You were the savages. So I think it's been built that way. Look at the White House; it was built by black people. So I think it's been built that way, and Donald Trump was smart enough to tap into that. And the replacement theory is, and it runs deeper in that, because I don't care what it is, if you convince a group of people that who once deemed themselves as being significant, that they're now going to become insignificant, you create fear.
Yeah.
You create fear. And then you turn around and say the very people that you ruled over, that you called yourself superior over, or about to come to the top, it gets worse because they fear retaliation and all this other stuff starts going to the head, man. And that causes where you are now. And then the other part about it is people think they're always the exception to the rule. I'll give you the perfect example.
That's funny in so many ways.
I got one of my schools, and they're really DI sitting at, the attendance went down from 95% to 82%. And somebody told me today it was down to 78%. People picking their kids up early. And I was talking to a teacher there, and she said, this is crazy because, some Hispanic voted for it. I thought the teacher was just white. She said, I fall into that category. I said, what do you mean? She said, because I'm Greek. I was never naturalized. My father came here. I was born here. I never went down to.
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah. So she said, and that's the people don't realize that there's a lot of people walking around who don't look like them, who, based on what's happening, won't be here anymore.
And you see that happening a lot too. Like I see these stories online of people who voted for Trump, but then their spouse got deported because maybe they was from Venezuela or they were from a different country, and they, for some reason, didn't think that it could happen to them.
Well, because they thought one guy says if he could just get a few minutes to talk to Donald Trump, it's going to be okay. No,
it's not going to be.
It's just Mr. President, let me talk to you.
But it's just like the person who owns the corner store who thinks Trump is going to pass, gives them tax breaks. You're not rich. You think you're rich because the people you serving, but when it comes to Trump dollars, but I think
what about the little man and he's shooting paper towels?
Perfect example out here. Perfect example. Out here we get, I think, like very minimum federal dollars. But if he cuts it, we get less than that. So you think the taxes are high now, and somebody had to break it down on Facebook and educate people like, yo, you don't understand. If all this goes away, that money, them funds got to come from somewhere.
I think the one thing, you said a couple of things that I wanted to kind of touch on that I think are important. One, fear. I think fear is used to really drive a lot of us apart in so many ways where we can't see what we have in common or really even see honestly what's going on, because they use that fear to divide us up so much. And then I think also, I forgot, you just said something recently, kind of wrapping things up that I really kind of struck a nerve with me, but I still can't get past the fear part because you see so much of that every day.
People think they're exception to the rule. They think it's not going to happen to them. It's for those people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, like I said before, the fear of somebody who you once ruled over, who you saw as inferior, now becoming superior, creates a problem.
Mm.
It's like when somebody meets a racist and they think he's only racist against one ethnic group. No, racists don't think anybody that doesn't look like him.
He just doesn't like Mexicans.
Yeah, but that's what they think. That's exactly what they think.
It's all shades of brown, buddy.
Just like somebody said, well, it doesn't matter who you vote for. You know, then the next time you heard from him, well, they ain't gonna kick me out. Yeah, because you don't understand. It's not just, you know, you think it's targeted at them. But if you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and they grab you and you don't have the information, you go with them.
Yeah.
There was a guy that said he spent 2 years in Mexico. Never been to Mexico a day in his life, man. They deported him and sent him over there. This was the last Trump time. It took almost 2 years to get back.
Wow.
And
he tried to get rid of that natural citizenship.
But Chris, and I go back. People don't understand the purpose of Roe versus Wade. They thought it was just about abortion. It was Republicans finding a way to use the Supreme Court to change any law they want to change in the land.
And you see it going through DEI.
That's what it was.
OSHA of all things too, which that blew my mind.
And they knew if they said that, if they tied it into to pro-life, that all these Christians and all these people were going to jump on a bandwagon, not paying attention to what they were setting precedent for. So once he got that, now it's just like now he was ordered that he can't fire people. They put it on hold. He turned around and said, "Yo, they're gonna fire people anyway." Him and Elon Musk and all the time, they're gonna fire people anyway. They trying to get presidential orders, in fact, that so they can override the court. The system wasn't set up like that.
It's so frightening to see the amount of power and influence that he has. You know, like. And how people have just kind of been cowering and rolling over and giving this man anything he wants in exchange for
he's having
whatever.
This meeting in the press conference, right? Elon Musk is there with his 4-year-old son on the show.
I've seen that. Like he's in
the middle of the Disney. And it's meeting. And you got a guy who's a foreigner who's talking about cutting Social Security. Social Security is not an entitlement program. I've been working since I was 14 years old, paying into Social Security. That's my money. But you convince people as an entitlement program who don't pay attention, and then the sad thing about it is it impacts them too because they won't be able to get it.
I think what was even kind of telling within that whole conference is when somebody called him out about something that he was misinformed about and just spitting out when he was talking about taking like 50 million condoms to Hamas. And it wasn't necessarily that they was taking it to Hamas, they was taking it to somewhere in that region where they have a high AIDS and HIV count. So they were, but for him to be able to just go out there and spew that, get people riled up, and then he goes in front of the camera and is just like, well, you can't bet 1,000 all the time.
I thought you misspoke when you said condoms.
No, it's real.
No, but look what he wants to do in Gaza. He wants
to. They said that many things over there.
But it goes back to.
But he making it seem like it was part of some terror thing.
But if you go back to the replacement theory, and that's why a friend of mine pointed this out to me. He sees work. He does DI. He said we got to stop saying DI and start saying what it is, because he said people say they're against it. What are they against? Are you against diversity? You against equity? Or you against inclusion? We get so used to saying DI that people don't understand. Some people don't even know what it means. They just automatically associate with minorities. Like white women who say get this out there don't know they have jobs because of that. They getting paid fair wages because of that. They don't understand that once they go away, it goes back to the old boy network. But you listen to the dog whistle, not realizing that impacts you too. Asian people jump on the bandwagon. That includes you.
Yeah. And again, I think it speaks back to what I was saying about that idea of like people don't realize that, they look at one sector part of an issue, or like even with DEI, they think it's benefits only one group without realizing or looking at the bigger picture. Like, no, this actually helps you too.
But the fact that this is what I said to somebody. The issue is not DI. The fact is that we still need something like that. That's the problem. This is 20. Did you see the Super Bowl commercial with Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady?
Yeah, I did.
It was a crazy commercial.
He's like in heat.
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
First they was like, I hate you. They was going by hate, and then they both. It was like,
oh
weird,
yeah,
it was like
stop
yeah,
hating. Okay.
yeah, that was worse than Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg. But anyway,
I was waiting for
the joke.
I was waiting for this thing. I thought Tom that start rapping or something. But I mean, but it's a shame that you still got to make a commercial like that in 2025. I mean, it is. And the fact that, the Super Bowl, the NFL took it out. It was in the end zone. Stop racism. And because Trump came, they took it out. So, I mean, it's just crazy how in 2025 we still got to battle that. It's since we talking about the Super Bowl, I'm listening to how the narrative now has changed around Jalen Hurts. Somebody finally said something what I've been saying all along. Everybody thought Steve Young was the next coming of the Messiah, right?
Yeah.
They did. But check it out. Whose record did he break? Steve Young's. For running and throwing touchdowns, but when he was doing it, no black running quarterback is ever going to win a Super Bowl. That's all you heard. He's outplayed Patrick Mahomes 3 times. In the Super Bowl, they lost. They beat him last year, and they beat him again in the Super Bowl. So, but because of the color of his skin and because he's athletic, he's a runner. Josh Allen run more. Josh Allen runs too. He just can't run as well.
Always the label.
But I think that's when you start talking about replacement theories. All that stuff matters because that's what people see. People see that now. We used to own the quarterback position. No more. Blacks taking over quarterback position. Every year, another black guy coming to the league, man. The NFC, depending upon who the Giants get, may have all black quarterback. Yeah. So it's shifting. If you look at it, it's whenever people start catching up, people who already been ahead, they're not happy for them. It's not okay. How can we just work together? We keep the separation because you can't be where I'm at.
I mean, the funny thing about power is like, it's one of them things that, one, you got to take it. And nobody wants to give it up and relinquish it. So it's just like.
Well, real power creates a delusion, and that's the problem. Because people get real power, and they think it's all about them now. Whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's people with jobs who run some of these companies, some of these bosses, police officers, people who think they have real power don't know how to wield it. And I think that's the problem. And replacement theory feeds into that narrative because, again, I go back to what I said. If I make you feel threatened and afraid, you do whatever it takes. And unfortunately, we live in a country, man, who are not good at looking for facts because they get their information off of social media.
That is the most dangerous thing for us right now.
And we live in a soundbite. We live in a soundbite generation. People hear sound bites and they quote it as fact.
Parts of conversations, and it's just it's reality.
And there's certain things you see, like the condom things you were talking about. Gaza, he won't go over there and overthrow Gaza so he can make it a beachfront property for him. Come on, man. He talking about he wants to buy Greenland. Something is wrong, but that's power. You think you got that? He wants Canada. This thing that cracks me up. You want Canada and Mexico to become part of the United States, but you kicking everybody that don't belong here. Like
it's the Gulf of America.
yeah, I forgot it's just crazy. But anyway, and that's why, so I think we do got to start saying, so we can segue to our next topic, we got to start saying diversity, equity, inclusion, because I asked somebody directly, which one of those things don't you think? Because America's already all those things. You just don't want to have people empowered looking like that.
Yeah, I think the thing is like that there's people out there who want to think or argue that, these things already exist. You don't need to label it or title it. But obviously, we do. That's why we came up with it. That's why these things were created. Because we saw a problem and we was like, let's try to have some type of resolution for it.
My last point, there were some black people who were upset about the post we were talking about the black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. Because they don't know the history. Naturally there were some white people where race don't matter. Race never matters when it doesn't pertain to you. When slavery was going on, white folks said race don't matter because you were winning, you were above. It's just like when you up 34-0, the score don't matter. When you down 34-0, the score matter. So I think that's what's happening.
That's a really good analogy.
But it is because it's funny because
you up and don't
matter. Yeah, it don't matter. You ain't paying attention to the score. When you down, but I think that's where we are because you have black folk talking about why you got to bring race into it. It wasn't bringing race into the history they're trying to erase.
Some of us got to get our game up though.
But the history they're trying to erase, people just trying to make you mindful of. Like, this is not just about hate for Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson. It's been a struggle. They said we couldn't play quarterback. History was made because they said no running quarterback, athletic quarterback was never going to win a Super Bowl. Steve Young didn't count because he was white. He's different pigmentation.
Or no, is it somebody else?
Yeah, Doug Williams. Doug Williams was a pocket passer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pocket passer. Jalen Hurts is the first. Like he's the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to have double-digit touchdowns, rushing and throwing. It's so many records he broke because of the way he plays. And finally, somebody came out and said that, Keyshawn Johnson been saying it. You got to stop judging him like you judge the rest of the quarterbacks, because that's not who he is.
Yeah.
You trying to make
the position change. It's just like it's funny, like in basketball, like how positions have changed. The way guys play positions have drastically changed. Like
everyone has to be able to shoot.
Yeah, right. You got
KD changed the game.
He's 4 out of 5
because
people.
10 years ago, 20 years ago, KD in the post.
Yeah. Trying to.
So I think that's our culture has become that, and I think that segues to our next culture about cultures and relationship. And what made me come up with that topic is I was talking to somebody and they said something that's very interesting to me. We were talking and they were saying how their significant other, was just being impacted by his friends' ideas of relationships. They would say stuff and, he would come home and he was like, yo, how, and this was none of the stuff they related with child and then she said she began to talk to her friends and she noticed her friends was kind of saying some of the same stuff. She was like, well, and so she was like, wait a minute, why is culture all of a sudden dictating relationships instead of relationships? But that's why I thought about you when I said it's crazy that you can be in a relationship with somebody, be perfectly happy, but the culture turns around and says this is the way it's supposed to be. That's mind-boggling to me.
It is mind-boggling.
That's mind-boggling.
And it makes
zero sense.
Negative 0 cents.
And it's because I think people hate to admit it, but they're way more concerned about what others think and what this looks like to them from the outside versus you taking care of what happens within yours and being safe and secure in that and holding it down in your house inside internally. Everybody a lot of times be looking to their friends who gives horrible advice and is in a terrible position themselves.
Someone's a bag of rocks.
I think one thing that people don't do is look to people that you aspire to be like. Don't look and talk to somebody who is having a miserable experience or time, like in relationships. I think, because I thought of this the other day, like ultimately, like an older person is just like a past version of myself or something. You know what I mean? Like vice versa.
When people come to me and say, hey, I want to do what you do, I want to study you out. And the first thing I tell them is, you got to find your own voice. If you're trying to be like somebody else, you'll never be as good as you possibly can be. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing in relationship. Every relationship is different, man.
It is.
You got to find your own voice in that relationship. Some people say some women want to do it. They still want to cook and clean and do all the stuff like that. There's some women who don't. There's some guys who don't have a problem with cooking and cleaning. I've always done laundry. Why? Because I like my stuff a certain way. I like my white shirts white. I like my colors, those colored. I use starch, so I did iron. So we have different roles, and it works for us. But I think now everybody's trying to figure out what the role is, and everybody, we're going to be like this, and I think that's where the problem comes, because you're trying to be something that possibly you're not equipped to be.
Yeah. And I'm looking to build a house. I'm gonna go to a man that built one, not that just lived in one for a little bit.
But we also live in a time, man, where there's a lot to say about people who are charismatic.
Yeah,
there's a lot to say about charisma in every area of life. I listen to some pastors who don't be saying anything. They could be singing the ABCs, and people out there, you preaching now, because he's charismatic. I listen to some people. You look at some of these news people. They don't know what they talking. And
it's
bleep it out. I still look, and I say, Stephen A. Smith cracks me up because he's the only dude I know. He's like a weatherman. He can be wrong most of the time. But because he's loud and entertaining, people like him.
I mean, he's a TV personality.
Yeah, but that's my point, though. But he's loud and entertaining, so people like him. Forget the fact that he's not spewing facts, but people repeat what he says just like it's a fact.
He's never gonna come on this show.
Yeah, he might want to come. He might want to set the record straight.
Blasphemous.
No, I'm not. It's just. to me, it's just interesting, and more so now when you watch the whole and I love this whole Jalen Hurts scenario now because everybody's trying to backpedal. You know, and now the clips are coming out where they say he would never be a quarterback, he would never win the Super Bowl, you know, he's never going to be a franchise. All this stuff that all these so-called experts were saying, now everybody's trying to figure out how to walk it back. And I think it's a perfect example of what we're talking about because they didn't create you, man, so they can't say what you're supposed to be. They have an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just with the influence of culture is extremely strong. I said this before in the show, is that powerful. People are starving and looking for something, looking for answers, and like I honestly don't. I feel like they don't know who to turn to, so they looking online and hear people spew nonsense. They look into their friends. Where a lot of people can't look to their parents or.
But there are two things that I learned. One, how powerful it is, and the second thing I learned was that it has nothing to do with education.
But culture,
as far as the culture impact, you can be as smart as a whip or dumb as a bag of rocks.
That's actually.
I used to think people with education would be less susceptible.
Sometimes they're worse.
Yeah, it's like
because they're too smart.
What you're saying is not even a fact. But it's like a relationship.
Educated,
the goal in a relationship,
men and women.
The goal in a relationship is to be happy. How do you be happy? Two people have to come together, find common ground, and you work and you negotiate. It's not trying to live by somebody else's rules. It's not trying to say, well, because look at them over there. Because first of all, you don't know what's going on behind those closed doors. You know, most people in a miserable relationship is not going to come out. You ask them for advice. I'm in a bad relationship. No, they're going to tell you what. I'm
going to tell you what I would do.
Sometimes how they hurt. Yeah, sometimes how they hurt. Sometimes how they frustration.
Yes.
And so we got to be careful with that, man. The culture is not always right.
No, it's not. And that's why, again, I think you need to, be mindful of who you're talking to, who you share things to, and like where you getting your information from. And that's honestly with everything. But like more in relationships, what we specifically talking about right now, and with how dangerous and the culture is, because there's some toxic stuff out there. I don't think anybody really speaks to some of the positive sides that you've mentioned in reference, like the idea of like working with somebody and having selflessness, and people generally like to speak from this just such a positive place, like horseshoes and butterflies and rainbows, and nobody talks about the nitty gritty of like, yo, this is going to be hard, and you have to work for it.
Relationships are just like a culture. There's nothing. Everything in the culture is not perfect.
But we live in a society where people love the fake look of something.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
I just gotta look perfect. You know,
you gotta be know what? Because I hate the idea. And this might be I hate black love. That hashtag black love. I'm about to get hated right now, but I hate it because it's all right. No, you want? No, I mean, not that I hate the idea. It's just I feel like people get lost in. It just has to look in this beautiful manner, spectacular, pleasing to the eyes, and make you feel all good. But then in reality, like sometimes love is a little hard and gritty, and like, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to work through some things. It's gonna be some tough times, some turbulent waters. And I just don't think that. I think some people get so lost in the glitz and glam of like, oh man, it just needs to look pretty and look good. It's even with the black love hashtags that we see online, some of these people, like I hate to bring up Derek Jackson, and that like people was thinking this guy was the man, and the whole time he treated his wife like running her through the mud. You know what I mean? So it's just like
this. I mean, nobody's perfect, and every relationship has its bumps in the road. Your new car is not gonna be new forever, and when your car starts to get older, things happen. Your body, as your body get older, things. Yeah, but you have to also adjust.
That too.
So I think a relationship is the same thing. It takes work. It takes an adjustment. Like for instance, I don't believe in the 7-year itch. Everything 7-year itch, they make it about sex. I don't. I believe the 7-year itch that's about the time when people start to change, and now you got to figure out how to stay connected. And what happens is, instead of working on staying connected, you out there meeting somebody else who you think you're connected to. And I think that starts it. But a lot of times when you sit down and talk to people, we drifting apart. You're drifting apart because you're not keeping it fresh. You're not, it's like I remember somebody told me, Ted Josie said, he said, look, you spend a lot of time with your kids, you do a lot of stuff with your kids, man, that's great. But you need to start dating your wife, because one day your kids will be gone. You have nothing else to talk about. So this, I've been working on my quotes in my book. So this is a quote I want to share. It says, a wise man makes the most of today, learns from his yesterdays, and utilizes his experiences as he plans for tomorrow. A foolish man wastes their todays, lives in yesterday, and has no plans for tomorrow.
That's true.
So I think if you take that and encompass that into what we're talking about, that's part of the problem, man, because we're letting the culture drive us instead of just saying, okay, what is life teaching me? Am I learning? And we're learning from people and not from our past mistakes or from our parents' mistakes. Or, we don't do that anymore.
It's like, it was crazy even just thinking about the culture and like how people follow it.
And don't steal my quote because I know that. That and keep pushing the stone. Let me say,
it's dated and timestamped through this video.
It's growing.
But the crazy thing about the culture is like how I guess people blindly follow it because it's hot or it's talked about, but don't look at the results of like what does
perfectly said. Yep.
What does this lead to me following or listening to this? Like,
well, look at Steve Harvey.
I know this sounds good, but where does it go?
Who's taking marital advice from a comedian who's been divorced several times?
I was about to say I'm a comedian.
Same people that
been divorced.
Same people that take political advice from comedians.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but he's been divorced several times, so he's giving you marriage tips, and he's a comedian. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying he
I want to be a comedian.
But come on, man, you gotta have some meat and potatoes for me. You can't just have a name somewhere and famous, and now I'm gonna take your advice.
Yeah.
You got what's behind it? You gotta have some meat and potatoes behind it.
That's what I'm saying. You have to again look at the broader, bigger picture and be like, man, what are the results that I want? And are these steps leading to these results?
Are we not? So okay, before we transition, because sports will take up most of the time. Are we not teaching that, or what's going on? How have we come to the point where the social media is and influencers are taking over?
I don't think it is being taught. I think it's like one of them things where, unfortunately, adults want to be kids. It's Peter Pan land out here. Like everybody wants to be younger than what they actually are. Like I enjoy getting older, honestly. And people think I'm crazy or weird for saying that. I have enjoyed getting older in life just because I've been able to experience and do different things. I'm grateful for the things I have get to done. And I feel as though like each year or each part of my life has continuously gotten better. Not without this ups and downs and this lumps, but I've like overall, I just enjoy the journey of life.
I enjoy it too, man. But it comes with aches and pains.
Of course, that's natural though. I don't think anything
and hard knocks,
great in this life is not going to come out with some aches and pains and some trials and tribulations.
Yeah, but this physical aches and pains is a little different.
Listen, I know the torn Achilles, torn ACL, like body aches.
Wait till you get my age.
Just because it's cold,
and your body becomes a weather vane. You know when it's gonna rain. But as we transition to sports, the Super Bowl, man, it's been I've been in so many discussions from Kendrick Lamar, from what's the name, from Serena Williams, Crip walking. It's been that was pretty great. It's been a wide range of topics about it. None more than the Super Bowl because everybody was shocked about the beatdown. By the way, Chris Bassard, I told you 2 scores. I told you 2 scores.
I was just about to say,
I knew it was gonna be beat down.
2 weeks ago in the kitchen upstairs, I did say it was going to be a blowout.
We did say that.
You didn't say the Eagles, though. So let me put your hands on.
I did say somebody was getting blown out.
But yeah, man. But so it's just been a wide range of topics, man. About because people were really upset about the Crip walk. Especially the fact that her half sister got killed by the Crips. They were like, "How could you come out there and do that? And you married to a white Jewish guy?" And so. This
is my first time hearing this, so pardon my face.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's been. I don't know where you've been. It's been a whole discussion about this, man.
Because I know about the Kendrick Lamar and
she used to date Drake. Yeah, all this stuff. Yeah, this whole thing. And I'm thinking I thought I was watching halftime entertainment of the Super Bowl
because Fripp walked up. Like this is insane. The amount of criticism.
I'm just saying that it's an irony that her half sister
was killed by the Crips. And I get what they were saying, and also what they were saying.
It's a dance.
No, but it represents a gang culture, and what they were saying was what makes sense to me. How you up here making a statement about you're just thinking about black people and you're going through this, so then that's what you put out there because they kill black people. It's gang. You can judge how but I get what they meant about what it stood for. I understand that.
Like the same thing you were glorifying was also the same reason why a family member of yours died.
Yeah, and
I think what's kind of interesting to me is that like Snoop Dogg has been doing that for years now. He been doing it on TV shows. He been doing, but I'm saying like he been. I'm saying he been doing that for years. Yeah. He had the Olympics, like he had.
But he's from the gang. But he's from the gang culture, though, Chris, and it's still like, wrong.
But I'm just saying he popularized it to a point where it's like it was just a dance. Like it's people all over the white people all over the world.
But it don't make it right. That's like somebody walking out there with a Confederate flag on. I mean, you make a statement when you do something like that. So I get what they were saying. Now I would get all upset, and I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Like some people I thought was going overboard because they get that's too much. State your opinion and keep.
Why they didn't say it during the Super Bowl when Dr. Dre and Snoop and all, because they was doing that there.
What they did, it's just now is more people watch this.
All the bandanas.
More people watch this Super Bowl than any other Super Bowl. This Super Bowl, I don't know. I don't know if they want to see the Eagles lose or see the Eagles win. This was the most watched Super Bowl. Yeah. And also this Super Bowl had a different demographic. There's a lot of females who watch this Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of I don't maybe because again, nobody knows it was because they hate the Eagles or they love Kansas City. They have I don't know, but it was crazy.
Swifties
and you could tell when you're watching the chatter going back and forth, you could tell it was a different audience because first of all, most people watch the Super Bowl not spending 45 minutes chatting about the halftime show. It ain't that big a deal. But there's a lot of people for wrong or right who it goes back when Beyonce did the thing with the Black Panthers. There was a lot of chatter about that.
I think what makes me mad about it is that like the Super Bowl halftime show is something where, that performance is not going to touch every audience base. Like sometimes there's going to be a year where it's just like, whoa, I have no idea who that is.
Like when Lady Gaga was on.
Yeah, I was actually kind of a fan. But good song.
You said it like Kendrick Lamar. Half the people probably know what's going on.
But people, I think,
half the people playing probably know what's going on. Well, I take that back. Some of the brothers, right?
But I think where people kind of miss is like there's millions of people watching TV at home. Yeah. That's his audience. It ain't always going to be the people in the stadium, especially when y'all have to spend so much money to get there. His target audience can't spend that bread to get there.
Well, again, it goes back to the advertising too. They spent $8 million for this commercial. The average cost for this commercial, by the way, $8 million. So they're trying to hit that market. So to me, it didn't bother me either way because that's not my music. That's not what I didn't even understand the whole thing. Somebody was explaining to me about him versus Drake and all that stuff. I didn't. Really, I wanted to get back to the beatdown. I couldn't get over fast enough. I was like, let's go back. Yeah, let's go back and hit. Let's hit them some more, man.
My generation, a group of people, we loved it.
And it was cool, and I respect that, but because we're different. I love the football game more. To me, man, watching my beloved Eagles kick their butt and waiting for the next. I could not wait till Monday, man, as we get into the game, because I knew all this talking heads was going to have to backtrack.
You ain't like Samuel Jackson play Uncle Tom?
Uncle Sam, yeah, Uncle Sam.
I thought you playing Uncle Tom.
No, it's Uncle Sam. See, I mean, he didn't even get significance though. Uncle Tom, Uncle Tom is right.
Yeah, Uncle Tom.
Well, Uncle Tom is not the guy who walks around with the Star Spangled the flag and stuff, man. Uncle Tom was like the guy on the Ben's rice thing. He was checking a job. But anyway, and that's not the real Uncle Tom. That's another issue. We'll get into that later. Well, to me, as we get into the game, man, for me it was about everybody kept talking about the first narrative of the thing was they were going to win because they were Patrick Mahomes.
Can't count him out.
He was going to count out. He was going to carve up the Eagles defense. The second narrative that when they were talking about they basically was calling him stupid. How Spags was going to confuse Jalen Hurts and because he confused Josh Allen at the end of the game and he confused the guy. All these guys he confused how he was and even Michael Parsons spoke up. Yeah, you got to make Hurts beat you. You just got to stop. You're going to put all these guys in the box because they know he can't beat you. So those two aspects of the game I love. Then when they was kicking his butt, that was a bonus. With only 4 guys, I was like, yo, man, they were like, and it really was, they were just rotating guys, but they were knocking them from,
It was a dominant game.
Dominant.
I thought it was actually kind of funny that Saquon didn't have the game that everybody probably thought or expected, but it wasn't needed.
But he had a significant game. Especially when he broke those little 6
140.
But I knew, nobody paid attention. If the defense gets one stop 2 years ago, they win that Super Bowl. The Eagles got stops.
We weren't good enough.
No, but I'm just saying. So people act like Hurts didn't play him, like he didn't play well. And then if you fast forward, he beat them last year on Monday Night Football. And then you say he can't pass the ball. If you go back and look at the games, he makes the key pass every time. He may not light you up for the whole game, and he's only throwing 20 passes.
And that's actually the thing is like everybody else is throwing the ball probably on average like 30 something times a game.
Everybody's home.
And he only throwing it
25 times.
So I think when he misses 1, 2, 3 passes, it's just like people think that
like he was 17 for 20. He was 17 for 20.
And his misses don't be that bad.
Michael Irvin was actually saying that like we got to stop looking at like because we're used to people like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady who are getting 200 and something.
No, but he's
like as long as you're getting the win and
he a fool because he was the first one. He was another one before he won the Super Bowl. The only person on that show was Keyshawn Johnson. Him and I don't know how Paul Chris gets to talk about football. That's a whole different story. But he was saying the same thing. Well, if you're going to be an elite quarterback, you got to throw the ball 30, 45 times a game. You got to average 250 to 300 yards a game. He was singing that same song. Him and a bunch of them guys were saying, and Keyshawn Johnson kept pointing out, why are those guys home every year? All those guys throw the ball. He read it off to him. Brawl didn't even make the playoffs. Hubert threw 3 interceptions. Herbert threw 3 interceptions. He started reading them interceptions. Guys thought they're on home. Josh Allen ain't beat her. He been to a Super Bowl yet. This dude's been there two times in 3 years.
He take care of the ball
2 times in 3 years.
He makes the right reads and plays most of the time.
And then when they put his stats up, and this Keyshawn Johnson, when he put the stats up, his stats is so crazy how to them. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Hurts is right there.
Yeah. And I think what's actually great about seeing Jalen Hurts throughout the year was he did have issues holding the ball. I will say that. But then it's just like he started to tighten up as the year went along.
He did.
He looked fantastic.
But my thing about
in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, my thing about holding the ball, he was holding the ball too long. But you can't have it both ways because when he stands back there for 5 seconds and hold the ball and then make a good throw, everybody, good play. So he does have to make bad decisions. But people want it both ways. They want to see him standing back there and standing tall, and then it's like, so I do agree, and even Tom Brady, I got utmost respect. And Tom Brady said the same thing. When that ball comes out on time, he's unbeatable. When Hurts lets that ball out, he lets out on because he can make all the throws.
All of them.
But the thing about that I think that, and we get back to the game that I admire most about him because he has something Ben Simmons, and I wrote this on Facebook. He has something Ben Simmons and Donovan Knight didn't have. No, because they both tried to be something. They worried about what people were saying about him. Yeah, I heard he got waived. That's another show. He got waived. The Clippers picked him up.
Yeah,
they bought him out, man. So anyway, but I think and Donovan Knight I think could have been 10 times better, but he bought into what everybody was saying about him. You're a runner, you're not this. So he bulked up and everything. Then he started throwing the one hoppers in the ground, and he wasn't the same quarterback. He fed into the narrative, man, instead of being the best version of himself. And I think this, I look at that like, dude, if you would have stayed who you were, they probably could have won a Super Bowl or 2 Super Bowls.
His personality was a thing too.
But that's my point. His personality, because he was, I hate to say brother was weak, but Chris, when you can't have that kind of prima donna personality to hear what everybody's saying. You can't do that. I can't. I'm better than you. As soon as Devin say something, what? Yeah. So I think and Ben Simmons same way. You making $40 million. You listen to the guy in the third row who paying to see you play, and I think Hurts has that, and I think that's something that people need to take out of it in real life. Be the best version of you. And he never swavered. Like, look, I'm petty. I tell you, look, man, when AJ Brown came out and talked about it was quarterbacking, and then the next game Hurts was 18 for 24. I should have been 20 for 24. Them 2 balls he dropped. I would have been like, but he never does. They drop balls every game.
All the time.
But what I'm saying, he just, the dude, he wins though, and that's what I think. I don't understand that. He wins. Dude, there's guys who Josh Allen, Herbert, whatever his name is, those guys never been to a Super Bowl.
Lamar Jackson go?
Nope. Hurts is the only guy to beat Mahomes 3 times. He beat him 3 times.
Kryptonite.
And the only guy who seems to acknowledge that is Mahomes. Everybody's acting like he said it before the Super Bowl. I don't know what everybody's talking about.
Like, I do feel like it's almost the media has to find something negative to say about Jalen Hurts. Whether it's they can't. It's like even his responses. He's too perfect. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they had to find a way to say something negative about him. So
I agree, but I don't understand why.
It's always like that. Every sport, every day, you can't be too good.
No, I agree, but it's like, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Pick on somebody who screws up. You know what I mean?
Because I'm actually thinking, like, who's a player that's been that good that nobody has ever said anything.
But you picking on the guy. But even let's bring it home. Philadelphia, WIP, they treat him like crap here.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like.
The radio, they treat him like crap.
The way they be talking about it is insane.
And then they had a little dog whistle thing going too, and everybody, well, if you plug in, Joe Burrow, all these people, well, guess what? Against Kansas City, Joe Burrow wasn't taking off no 20. He wasn't taking off no 20 on road. Yeah,
the key could be next up.
You look how we did with Pickett. That was the only game they lost in that stretch.
Crazy on the radio.
That was the only game they lost during that stretch.
They really be.
And the key beat the Giants.
Yeah, they.
You and I could have swooped up and probably beat the Giants.
I do got a nice alarm.
But I think for me,
hand off to Saquon.
For me, I think that's another thing that's wrong with sports. When you get a guy, man, that's a quality guy, that doesn't complain, doesn't more. Because I say this, had he been complaining about the style they were playing, he wanted to throw the ball more, everybody would have been talking about him. Oh, he a diva, he a prima donna. The fact that he adapted to
just
whatever
win the game,
and people had a problem with it. And even doing this, there were certain people who was like doing this whole run, Keyshawn Johnson, a couple other people, but all these, Tom Brady, but these other knuckleheads, man, were talking about him like a dog. He never gonna win. And then the thing that really bothered me, Joe Burrow of all people took a backhanded slap at him. They interviewed him before the game, and Joe Burrow says, if they don't run the football, I don't think they got much of a chance, because that means they're gonna have to throw the football. So I probably would say, how do you like me now? How you like me now? Dude, you home, you ain't even got a ring. So everybody was kind of taking their shots at him in a roundabout way. Michael Parsons comes out. I'm gonna make.
I think you have to say that though. Like that's the number one thing you have to line up and stop. Every team knows that. And
you can say that, but you can't say
too, like, we gotta make sure we stop them.
No, but you can't.
And that's our best chance
of winning is to make
weekly. Not to say he's bad or he can't do it,
but
it's just like that might be our best chance.
No, but that's our best chance. No, they were saying he couldn't do it. They would blatantly come out saying he couldn't do it. Some people were calling him a weak link.
I would say Michael Parsons. I mean,
some people were calling him a weak link.
If you have to pick a weak link,
no. The weak link was, you know how many times. Let me tell you something. You know how many times.
Not to say he's bad.
Let me finish.
That's a good weak link to have.
You know how many times the interception he threw, nobody talks about it. They didn't block anybody. It's the same thing as Washington. How many times that guy came right up the middle and nobody said a word about that? Or at the beginning of the year when he was throwing interceptions, what was he trying to do? Force the ball to A.J. Brown. What everybody was saying, you got to give him a chance. You got to give him a chance. You can't have it both ways. And the way they were talking about him, they were talking like he was, and that's why Brandon Graham said what he said. That's why the Eagles players started, C.J. Gardner, started saying what they were saying because they were talking about the man like he was trash.
I mean, not to say our team's a dream team, but it's like if you have a dream team and you had to pick somebody.
This was a dream team. This was a dream team.
Who would it be?
This was a dream team. But you don't look at a dream team and say the weakest link. That's not you. You don't say that about a dream team.
I think they're choice words. Sometimes it's like a competitive narrative thing.
And it's the way you say things.
Competitive narrative.
You can say that's the area I think we had the most success at. You can say that. Not saying I don't think they can do it. Because that is attacking somebody. If Devin's that quarterback and I say, we're going to stop Chris because I don't think Devin can beat this.
Because I talk trash occasionally.
No, they weren't.
A competitor.
But that's they were talk
words too.
But see, that's why you are.
Because I'm better.
But you just like that, what Dak came out and said. This is idiotic what these guys are saying.
It's like right there.
They right there.
They're right there with the Eagles.
It's a keyword.
We beat them.
Keyword. When I watched the NFC Championship game between Washington and Philadelphia, there were two teams that we had success against. Dude, keyword, you watched. You've never been to an NFC Championship game. So what you say does matter. And even that, I was laughing, crying all day long because the Dallas podcast, even the Dallas podcast, were killing them. Yeah. So guys say stuff and they know what they're saying. They know what they're saying. When you give a backhanded slap to him to Jalen, he can't throw the football like Stevens A. Smith and all of them saying, he can beat us and he's not going to beat him because he's not equipped for that. He's not an elite quarterback. That's what you're saying. You can say somebody may be, that's the area we're going to attack without calling him a weak link. What you say does matter.
Again,
I'm like, if you'd have called me a weak link, this really fired me up. You think you that ain't gonna fire me up? Yo, and then you call the guy who Winkley, Chris, he just wins. He's won more than any other quarterback other than David Holmes. He wins.
If I'm looking at an entire team and they're all good, but then one person might not be that guy, I would use that terminology.
But that's not just an average one person.
I would use that's
not an average one person. That's a guy who was a biscuit away from being a Super Bowl, a call away from being a 2-time Super Bowl champion. That dude, it's not like guy's garbage. It's not.
Nobody's saying that he's garbage though. That's I think.
You need to go back and watch some of this stuff and hear the tone and way this guy is going. That's what it's like. You need to go back.
Barkley should have been MVP.
He should have been. He should have been.
AJ Brown is a matchup nightmare.
But if you go watch,
Devontae Smith also matchup nightmare.
But guess what? And Barkley tell you the same thing. He ran the way he ran because Hurts contributed to that because you had to account for him.
Jalen got to get it to those guys.
But you had to account.
And I think you got to I'd rather take my chances.
But you're missing like everybody said. If you just think it was just Barkley, people said the same thing. Who know football? Who wasn't? It was Hurts' ability, his threat to run that opened up the lanes. Because they weren't putting 8 guys in the box because they were trying to account for Hurts running the stuff that he does. Now they decided, Spags decided that he just ain't gonna beat us throwing football, so we're gonna put everybody on the box to stop Barkley, and we all know how that turned out. And again, it goes back to it's not what you say is just as important as how you say it. So you're saying when you hear that, but that's an insult you call. I don't care what level you playing, man. That's an insult you call somebody a weakling. That's an insult. Oh, you can slice it and dice it any way you want to slice it and dice it. If you're on the other side of the table, somebody say you the weakling, you ain't sitting there talking about, well, I'm just not the best one on my team. I got a problem.
Ain't nobody saying that he shouldn't take it personal, but I'm just saying from the mindset.
But you making it sound like it's a nice thing.
I'm not saying it's a nice thing either. I'm just saying if I'm looking at a team,
like a competitor's thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at a team. That's my guy right there. I think if we make that person shoot, I might have a better chance of winning the game. Not that he's bad. He could probably make a couple shots here and there.
But that person is not a guy shooting 60% from the field or 75% from the field, throwing out dimes. It's not like, what I mean? It's different. It's just like when Golden State had Klay Thompson, and Durant, and they had
those 3 guys.
But I'm saying
I'm trying to make Klay Thompson shoot.
Let me finish, but you're not. You really okay.
I'm just saying if you had to choose between those 3 people,
you weren't gonna say there and say he was the weak link.
Those 3, I would be like, yo, maybe we see if we can try to make Klay put it on. Maybe try to make him put it on the floor. Not that he's out of those 3 people. He's the most.
But I go back to
like that. I'm like, all right.
When you say weak link, that's a different conversation. Mm-hmm. It's one thing if you say that's the guy I want to make beat us.
And they're all on the same level too. So I think it's a little different.
But when you say
all on the same level.
When you say weak link, that's a negative connotation, man.
Mm-hmm. And he should take it as such. But I'm just saying, if I'm on the other side too, I would say that probably about an opposing team that I'm going against. I wouldn't be like trying to give this guy praises.
Or if I play the same position.
Yeah, or the same position. I'm not going to be like, hey, this guy's so much better than me.
Let's look at Michael Parsons. They beat you a score 75-18 in 2 games. Who you calling a weak link? You shouldn't be talking. 75-18 in 2 games.
That goes with Devin just
saying. No, but I'm saying
he's a competitor.
He ain't no competitor. You gotta be 75-18. You shouldn't be saying anything.
That happens.
Sometimes that happens. No. I just
what you say. I've lost some games before.
What you say? Yeah, but you ain't losing no 2 games 75-18. If you lose 2 games 75-18,
right there like,
you shouldn't be saying anything.
Look at Cooper Rush.
You shouldn't be saying
it. Ain't my fault.
You shouldn't be saying
we got quarterback coach.
I think that's the problem, man, because it's just he's not viewed. And people now are saying you got to put him in the conversation. Ryan Clark has always been his biggest advocate. You got to put him in the conversation because he wins. He's the only he has the highest completion rate, 78% of his passes in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So the worst guy in the league is all of a sudden now he got all these records in the Super Bowl. Rushing yards, just for him, that's not a big deal. 72, so that's not a claim to fame. But he has 10 touchdowns rushing. He's doing 10 touchdowns. His passes is 78%, complete 78% of his passes in 2. Dude is putting up numbers, man. In the 2 games, he's got over 500 yards. you know, in the loss and the win. I'm just saying. So.
I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. I want to say that.
But I'm saying to me, and maybe we different areas. We got a problem. I would never sit there and say if I call somebody a weak link is an insult. It ain't about this. When I was back in the day and I was a little bit of trash talker, you know, if I said that, it wasn't. Yeah, because he's the worst one on the team. Because that's the dog. That's the one we're going after. We make him bark. We got this game.
That's their mindset as a competitor. That's what I'm just saying. Like, that's what they thought coming into it.
Oh, yeah, we got about 8 minutes. It was a great Super Bowl. I think they beat them down. They played well in all 3 passes of the game. I thought the game was over in the first quarter because, man,
shout out to Cooper DeJean.
I couldn't believe, man, when they had 24 points and Kansas City only had 23 yards.
That pick 6, I was like,
at halftime, that was crazy. They didn't get past the 50-yard line halfway through the third quarter.
I mean, shout out to the defense. The defense actually really.
Yeah, but you got to go back to like 1985 Chicago Bears to see defense like that, man.
Man.
And the 2 scores, it was really garbage time.
I think the turnaround for the defense from last year to this year, and even starting out a little bit slow at the beginning of the year, like they being the number 1 defense in the league, like I think that was kind of the writing on the wall, and then having the offense on the other side to kind
But it was a smoke and mirrors. Like last year they were old. Like they got no sacks on the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They got no sacks. And
no pressure.
They were getting up
Jalen Carter.
They were getting up so early in the games, the first Super Bowl run that they could just pass rush. Mm-hmm. I think now they got athletes. I mean, you got guys. I said this to Chris Broussard. I'm name dropping. I said this to him. Mm-hmm. This team is built like an 80s team, except they have more speed. This team hits. I mean, you talk about Jalen Carter. Everybody, Warren Sapp was talking. Warren Sapp says never seen anything like that. You got these guys all these guys are saying, and then but
Jordan Davis.
But he played a great game. But you even hear Carter's game. I mean,
Sweat.
You get Sweat, who's gotten better every year. Milton Williams, 3rd round draft pick. I mean, these guys, man. And then Jalen Hunt, the guy was from when he's supposed to be on the roster. Some small school, Houston Christian Academy, man.
He's so Christian again.
That's the college he came out of. Yeah, that's the college he came. That's my point. That's the college where he found him at.
I didn't mean to laugh at school, bro.
But he went out there, he balled.
Yeah. But I think they did a good job, just kind of.
Nolan Smith,
team
got better and
for
better
a
and
long
better.
time.
Yeah. Well, they gotta resign Zach Ball. They can't.
Without a doubt.
They can't let him walk. If I had my way, you resign everybody.
I would want to bring everybody back.
Yeah, you got to.
I've been hearing Myles Garrett name floating out there.
You got to. So I mean, but I think Sweat deserves to come back, man. The way he played down the stretch, he's homegrown.
Playing well since he's been here.
He's homegrown. I'm just saying. So I mean, unless he wants money,
best celebration in the league.
I think Beckham. You got to bring Beckham back.
I thought that's about Odell.
No, the big guy they brought over from the Jets, and he played guard. He solidified the line, man.
Yeah.
So I think you got, if you want to run it back, you got to bring your key pieces back.
Yes.
But I do think some people were like, I would be surprised if Beckham goes because they resurrected his career. He was out of football basically.
Bond too, same thing. Like
so I
got a chance here. So I think some guys are hopefully maybe take a little discount.
And I think Sweat culture matters to him, man, because there are guys who left here and regretted it.
Yeah.
There are guys who left here, man, who regretted it. I was thinking about him doing the game like he must be kicking himself right now. He got to be sitting there saying, "Man, if I could have been out there with them guys, man, he got to be saying, oh man, and you know who else? Hargrove, who left to go to San Fran. Yeah. I'm just saying though, you had guys who left because they thought they were leaving for greener pastures, man, and all of a sudden, man,
Yeah, now we back.
The team back on top.
Parade Friday,
and they should be there
10 a.m. Hope to see you guys there celebrating.
I'll be in the towers, man, looking down. I'm not getting.
I don't know where I'm gonna be at.
I gotta
still trying to figure some things out.
I might be watching on TV.
Y'all want to go together? We can ride down together.
I don't know where I'm gonna be at yet. I still gotta see what I can do for work.
See.
Hey, if I can move some things around. So if I can.
What's gonna be crazy, man? Because schools close schools down.
Of course,
schools.
It's a holiday,
down, man.
Holiday. What's crazy is it's a 4-day weekend because
President's Day.
I don't even know if they have President's Day. I gotta look at that. I hope so.
I hope so for your sake too.
Interesting, man. It's gonna be interesting
because the city's gonna be in shambles.
And the only reason I'm going down is because McKenzie wants to go, man. I wasn't gonna go, man. He told his mom, he told his friends he was going to the parade. It's cool.
He already knew it. He said, "Listen."
Well, some of his friends, because they got money, so they rent hotel rooms and stuff down there. So I guess he was talking about it. He said so. So somebody called me today. I hadn't planned to go. Somebody called me today and said, "Look, yo, I got my company. They're on the high floor, one of the tops. If you want to come watch the game, we're gonna have a little celebration." So I said, "Well, I can bring my grandson." And he's like, "Yeah." So
well, best of luck getting down there. You're gonna have to take a train and walk. Yeah.
Well, no, I think that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know how you're gonna drive down there. It's gonna be nuts.
Well, I wouldn't drive in the center city.
You have to drive and park up somewhere and like.
Well, if I could, I would probably do Wood Flint Company. If I could. I don't know how close I can get, man. But that's right off the Parkway. I don't know how close I can get, man. But
that's what I was like, oh.
I'm gonna talk to Andy, see how he's getting down there, man. Maybe I'll hook up with him.
Impossible. All right, yeah. Now I'm sitting here thinking about that. Do I even want to bother with that? Yeah. All right, we'll figure that out. But
we Super Bowl champs, man. That's all I care. We Super Bowl champs, man. I can say that for another year, man.
Feels good.
Makes up for the scrubby Sixers, and then Phil's letting us down, man.
I don't care what the Sixers do anymore. I really don't.
Can you believe only one game out of the playoff spot, man? How is that possible?
Because the East is the least.
Come on, man. I need them to be like conference, but I need them to be like 10 games back, man.
Nah, it's over with.
They might mess around and go on a win streak, man.
A lot of the moves that these teams.
If we only way I would have been cool with that is if we would have somehow been in that realm of maybe getting the top 6 pick so we can keep it.
What realm in?
But we're not going to do that. So because we lose our pick to OKC.
It's not protected?
It's only protected if it's top 6.
Well, if they lose, they're going to be in the top 6, right? If they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like that's a thing now. They're not going. There's no way they can be there because it's just too many bad teams out there.
Well, no, they bad, man. You got to be.
He got the Wizards.
He says he only gonna play half the games, and he only playing now. He only playing half the games because he hurt every week.
Is bad. Yeah, they just the Bulls. I don't know what they look.
I don't know. Maybe Paul George and Embiid may need some time off to rehab for next year.
Oh, Paul George.
Next year. I gotta say, did you see the Boston game, man?
Paul George.
They were up 30 points at halftime. They were 30 points at halftime.
I can't say that I watched anything.
I don't usually watch them, but I turned it on because I had nothing else to do, and I should have turned it off because they had Reggie Jackson. It was Reggie Jackson and Kyle Lowry was out there at the same time, so I should have turned it off. Man. Reggie Jackson and Carl. I didn't know they picked up Reggie Jackson. And him and Carl Lowry's out there. And all you got to do is put Big Gordon in now. You got 250 years out there on the court.
I haven't. That's like I said. I haven't watched.
And Boston walked them down.
They started in rookies that I don't really know like that.
The rookies didn't play bad. They were hustling. They were making shots, man. And then they went to these old dudes.
That's how you know that it's over for them. They don't know what they're doing.
Anyway. So we had another great episode of Above Average Black Men.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment.
Yes, sir.
A2BM.
Have a great rest of your week.
Who knows? I might go live to the Super Bowl.
Go Birds. We did the parade.
Thank you.
I don't know. You'll go live for the Super Bowl.
They don't stop. We champions, baby.
Turn it on.
I feel good. My nose. I need to blow my nose.